Hello everyone, and I'm here with Yvette again.
I'm back.
That's right, and we're here with another Sundance review. And do you know what we're reviewing?
No.
Yeah, I literally drag Yvette on camera. She usually doesn't know what movie we're reviewing until it comes out of my mouth. But we're actually reviewing My Old Ass.
Oh, I love that one.
Yes.
That one was really, really good.
Yeah, and we'll just cut to the chase on this one. We both really like My Old Ass. I think you can attest to this. One of my favorite genres, and I'm not even kidding. I love a good rom-com. I think falling in love is one of the greatest feelings life has to offer, and I say that with full seriousness, and I love films that try to capture that feeling in a very sincere way. We both grew up in a time where rom-coms came out, I felt like all the time, right?
All the time. I felt like that was like the main attraction in theaters.
We have Marvel movies today, but when we were growing up, it was rom-coms.
Yeah, it really was. It's ironic that you love rom-coms, but you're not like that romantic. That's odd, but you do love romantic movies. Like you cry at all the romantic movies.
Can we do it again where you say that I don't cry at romantic movies? Yeah, just do it
You're
again.
more bothered by that than me saying you're not romantic.
So yeah, again, we're here for My Old Ass in a therapy session apparently. But yeah, I feel like we grew up in a time where rom-coms came out all the time, I felt. I honestly can say My Old Ass is a truly great rom-com, especially for the new generation. But Yvette, why don't you kind of give the people a little taste of what Old Ass is about?
Sure. My Old Ass stars Maisie Stella, and she's making her debut as an actress. It's her first movie ever. She's playing the main character, Elliot, a young woman who's planning on leaving her Canadian lakeside cranberry farm. She's currently spending her last summer just living it up with her two best friends. While partying and taking mushrooms one night, she actually, I don't know if she hallucinates or what it is, but she hallucinates seeing her older self. She meets herself. And she gives her a lot of advice, like moisturize and wear your retainer, but the most important advice that she gives her is to stay away from Chad.
Exactly, and assuming she just had like some wild drug trip, soon after a Chad does enter Elliot's life, but Elliot finds herself in now a difficult position of not wanting to avoid him. So this film accomplishes a lot. It's a love story, it's a coming of age story, it's a time travel story, but the film manages to be all these things all at once and does all these things so incredibly well. And I give director Megan Park, who also co-wrote the script, a lot of credit. Megan Park, I don't know if you remember, she made her feature film debut of a film a couple of years ago called The Fallout. Kind of a more dramatic film. But what's clear that in both of those films is just how well she writes for the younger generation. And I felt that, like, you know, the way she wrote for Jenna Ortega in a way that really highlighted her talent, she does the same for Maisie Stella here. And I just found her absolutely charming. And Aubrey Plaza plays older Elliot and is nicely cast as well. She shares a very similar sarcastic wit, even though they don't really look like each other.
No, but I think it's, fine.
Yeah, it works. It quickly becomes clear that the older Elliot wasn't just a figment of like some drug trip and hands down other pieces of advice such as, hey, you should spend more time with your parents. Megan Park almost seems to be using the older Elliot character as a portal to kind of like hand down the advice and the wisdom that she wishes she had when she was younger. In many ways, this film is kind of the perfect bridge between older and younger generations. And I think it's a film that both will equally love and see themselves in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was kind of special that the director was able to possibly give her younger self advice through this movie. And I'm sure that was very therapeutic for her to experience that and to be able to go back and kind of talk to her younger self, so to speak. I wanted to also talk about the other part that you mentioned about the two different generations. This is one of the first movies that I've actually seen that goes into and talks about the disconnect between millennials and Gen Z. But I know I see a lot of discord going on between millennials and Gen Z on TikTok. This movie does a really good job of merging that gap between both generations in a really cute and endearing way. And I feel like it opens the door and opens your mind to appreciation of the other generation. I hope everybody watches it, and I hope that it gives us all a new newfound appreciation for each other and the different ages that we were at different stages in our life.
Also, Elliot's friends in the movies were really good. Specifically, I think it's Carice Brooks. I thought she was really funny, perfectly cast.
Really funny.
And I think one of the most satisfying elements of Old Ass, though, is how fully felt and delicate the love story specifically is. The Chad is played by Percy Hines White, and he brings this kind of oddball quirkiness to the role, but he's also just very sincere. He's very lovable, and Elliot can't quite sort out why she's supposed to avoid him because he seems so perfect. And I don't know, I feel like for a love story, I always feel like I know when the story is working because I begin to like swoon with the characters. You know what I mean? My Grinchy insides get all mushy and my hopeful side starts to overpower my pessimist side. And I felt properly swooned here.
Yeah, I think in the beginning when they first started like the little budding romance, I was like not buying it really. But as they got closer and like the cuter the relationship became, I realized like, oh yeah, that's gonna be hard for them to like not see each other because they were so adorable together.
Yeah. Another layer of the film that I thought was really interesting is that there's this layer of self-questioning her sexual identity. Like Elliot has always been attracted to other girls, but she has this new unexpected attraction to Chad, and it has her questioning like everything now. And she's not sure what label she's supposed to kind of assign herself now. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a nice exploration of sexuality and the difficulties that you might face trying to put labels on something. You know, she goes from being lesbian to perhaps being bi or pan, and they talk about it in very interesting, mature ways.
Also, I think one of the funniest scenes has to do in that kind of space of playing with gender roles, and I don't want to ruin the scene, but I'm just going to say, you know what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to say.
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. Absolutely fantastic. Love that part. As we mentioned before, there is a level of time travel or science fiction involved in the story. The film, I don't think necessarily focuses on the details surrounding this phenomenon too much, nor considers it that important. If you're like that type of person who needs the science fiction stuff to make perfect sense or needs to know exactly how it all works, this movie might not be for you. It might frustrate you. You know, the magical elements are done in a way that's kind of similar more to like Midnight in Paris. Personally, I think Park could have limited the contact between old and young Elliot. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, honestly, it didn't bother me at all. I really liked the way it was done. It was like a lot of, I guess, magical kind of like science fiction stuff, but it was done very practical. So in my opinion, and minimal. So in my opinion, it worked.
It's hard to talk about it without ruining any of those elements. Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, you kind of have to let it go because that's really not what's incredibly important. The question of what would you tell your younger self is really what Park wants you to ask. But not just that. She also wants you to ask, what advice would your younger self give your now self?
Yeah, it's like they both learn from each other. And I think we could all probably learn from our older self, but we could learn also from our younger self as we age.
As much as the older generation and the younger generation could learn
from
about
each other. Yeah.
And I will say too that I felt like at a certain point I was surprisingly emotional.
You cried.
Wow. Just call me out. And you have never cried in a movie since 1992.
No, I cried. I cried at Sundance in Thelma.
Oh. But yeah, I loved My Old Ass. I thought it was great. Thought Maisie Stella was wonderful. Honestly, it might be my favorite romantic comedy that I've seen in a while. So I give this film a very strong 8 out of 10. Yvette, what's your score?
8 out of 10. It's really cute, really funny. Highly recommend it.
All right, well, Old Ass was acquired by Amazon, by the way. It's going to be released wide, and then you can be able to watch it via streaming. So that should be coming out this year. But definitely check that one out. I think you guys will really like it. All right, well, we have some Sundance reviews to come. And if you want to see more of those reviews, hit the subscribe button down below. Thanks always for watching. And until next time, everyone, we'll see you
at the Oscars.